Welcome back to Tempting Fate Tours. While Tom ponders the next steps to get the Traveler back on the road, it's time to tell the story of the other car on this new adventure. It's even older, and frankly, it's a car I totally never expected to own. I already have one 49 Miner, a USA Tourer convertible with side screens. It's the one that every car person needs to have once in their life. A really impractical, stupidly complex, hideously pricey basket case rotisserie restoration. And this was mine. I bought it in 2016, when the better half immediately informed me that the car would be named Clementine. I looked at him and said, "Why Clementine?" And he gave me that look and said, "Because, John, it's a 49er and it's a minor." Okay, fine. 3 years ago, Clementine went off for a whole lot of structural welding, and that process is still going on today. But the year I bought the car, I had written an article on 49 miners for a Canadian car club. Fast forward 5 years, and I get an email from a guy named Dan in Fernie, British Columbia. His parents, Ken and Rose, it turned out, had bought a 49 Miner lowlight as a second family car in 1976 in Winnipeg, Manitoba. The 27-year-old car then had all of 1,300 miles on it. They found it on a used car lot, needed a car, and bought it. Dan and Rose were kind enough to send me a bunch of family photos from the family over 30-plus years, showing the car and all of the different family members it transported. The kids learned to crank start it if the battery died, and eventually Ken had to get the car repainted by his brother Victor, because that maroon shade on early miners was known to fade badly. Sun, apparently something they don't have in England. But he would take the car to an auto show as a survivor, and it always got a lot of attention due to its Art Deco looks. Rose told me Ken's favorite saying was always, "The Morris is as old as my wife, but it has fewer miles on it." No comment. Ken died in 2014, and Dan inherited the car. But by 2020, Dan and Tanya were trying to buy a home, and he sent me a note asking if I knew anyone who might want to give the car a good home. And he sent a whole bunch of photos to show it off. When I saw the one with the odometer, I almost fainted. I agreed in March 2020 to buy it. And then a global pandemic hit. Dan and Tanya were very patient, and in due course, we worked out an interim plan. So in July 2020, the Morris traveled in a closed trailer into its fourth province, Ontario, to the home of my friend James Ellis, who had quite fortuitously just finished building a new garage. He also owned a 49 lowlight Miner at that time, and he was eager to see an original car, since his own car, one of only 8 or 10 known to survive, was in pretty rough shape. Over the lockdown, James ended up doing quite a lot of fettling, so when I finally went up to see the car, more than 2 years later, it was in good shape and roadworthy and capable of driving around, albeit slowly. In November 2022, Tom and I trailered the car across the border from Ontario into New York State and Niagara Falls. The car had never been in the US before. Canada got a lot of miners in those years because most of British production was exported. There was a program called Export or Die because Britain desperately needed hard currency to pay its war debts.
Only half the cars on this production line will be seen on Britain's roads. The other half is going abroad. Main item in the export drive that aims to recapture our old place as a world industrial leader.
So while a Canadian farmer could buy a Miner right off the dealer, British people would sign up on lists and hope to get a new Miner 4 to 7 years thereafter. My car was built only 9 months after the start of production, and it has lots of little details that ended up being changed in the first 2 or 3 years.
Lord Nuffield is among the first of our trade ambassadors to go out after the world's business. Here saying goodbye to his wife at the start of his trade mission to South Africa.
But it's startlingly original. So much so, the British Morris Miner Club asked me to write about it for their excellent bi-monthly magazine, Miner Matters. Just one example. The 75-year-old door seals are made out of a kind of British foam known then as sorbo. In most cars, it melted within years. And my car, most of it is still there, albeit fossilized. On the road, behind the wheel, while it's really slow, the car is remarkably tight. After all, it's almost new. But it's really pleasant, especially if you can sit in a passenger seat and not have to do the driving. So what to do with an almost new 75-year-old car? Oh, we have some ideas.